it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. We have a really fun technique that I have not got any videos on. This is the bouncing brayer technique. And although this sounds a little bit weird, I promise this gives really fun results. Really good. And it barely takes any supplies at all. But speaking of the inks that you use, I have found that an ombre style ink works best. Now these ones here are the Let's Color inks. These are from AliExpress. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on all those kinds of places. They are very cheap. They're like, I don't know, $1 to $2 maybe. And I love these inks. I have used these, I think maybe one of my very first videos ever, 500 or 600 videos ago, was using these inks. And these are the same pads. They have lasted me a really long time. But there's also this Momenta one, which is on scrapbook.com. And this is, I think it's maybe $3 or so. The other ombre kind of inks that I know of are the Hero Arts ones. However, they run for like $7, $8, $9 per ink pad. So that's definitely getting up there for me, and for the amount of time that I use an ombre ink pad, these versions are perfect. So I am starting off with this pinky kind of color one here. The only other thing that you need is a brayer. I'm thinking that pretty much any brayer is going to work for this technique, so give what you have a go. And I am going to ink up my brayer by rolling it across the ombre, and I'm sticking to the left hand side of my brayer at the moment, just making sure I've got enough ink coverage on there, the most I can get. I turn my ink pad around so that I can ink up the other side of my brayer. So in the middle is kind of the lights, and at the ends are the dark pinks. So once I think I have enough ink on there, the left hand side of your brayer, well, I use the left hand side because I guess I'm right-handed and that makes it easiest. That is the piece that you're basically going to keep in one spot as you turn around. Now I'm doing this really slow and obvious here so that you can see what the technique is, but you literally bounce the brayer up and down. No rolling at all, just bounce the brayer up and down and keep that left point of your brayer in the same place. So you're basically creating like a focal point, a center point for that dark color. And when you start this technique, you're going to think, I'm not sure how this is going to become anything good. I'm not quite sure that this is going to work out how I was expecting it to. But I promise, stick with it and stick with the technique and keep that left-hand side of your brayer in exactly the same place and just bounce, don't roll, just bounce your brayer and keep going. You'll need to go over it a few times to really build up that color. And I have done like quite a lot of these now, and they all work out using these really cheap ombre ink pads. Now you could probably make your own ombre ink pad. This is something I was thinking about when I was filming it, is using, like piling up a couple of baby wipes and then using some re-inkers in a ombre fashion, so from dark to light of something, and you could probably use that as an ink pad, a DIY ink pad, at least for this technique. That's what I would give a go if I didn't have these anyway. Now I am moving around, and yes, I have sped this up, and sorry that the light is shining through. I kind of figured that out about here and then cut out the light from my filming space, and I just keep going around, keep adding color and layers. And honestly, how cool does this start to look? It kind of starts to take shape and you think, okay, now we're getting somewhere. This is something that I think I could use. And I'm not going to lie, today's cards are two of my favorites. I love both of them. Really interesting. I didn't know if I would love this technique, but yeah, lots and lots of fun. So here is my first card. This is using the pinks, obviously. And I did a whole lot more of these off camera. So I did one here. This is the purples, and I only inked up my brayer once. So I only went from light to dark. I didn't turn the ink pad around and re-ink up the other side. That's why the ink kind of stops. And obviously I've got the light in the middle this time rather than the dark in the middle. So that's one option. Then using this Momenta one, I kind of turned this one sideways. I perhaps wish I had done it lengthways, but anyway, this is what I ended up with, and I really like this. This is kind of oceany. I don't know, this one really is cool as well. Now, it really does depend on the colours that you use, and it gives a whole different look. You can see kind of that pink one that has the really light pink is much different to the one that has the kind of says medium blues to dark blues. This one here, I thought I would just, this is really sped up, obviously. This film is sped up, so this is not how fast it goes, but the process does go really fast, and I must admit, this yellow one here was really, really striking. I love the oranges to the yellows, and the ink seemed to go on really, really well. And this one was really cool too. This one obviously has the dark in the middle and then heading out to the light, and I did not swap my brayer around to get more color very much around the outsides, because I think I cut this one down to be 3 1/4 by 5 inches, so it was pretty much reaching all the way around. Now you just kind of work at it, keep layering, and it will get there. So this is the next one all finished. Now to turn these into cards, which is the fun part, another part I guess that is fun. And I love creating backgrounds as much as I love finishing off cards, which is really good because that means sometimes if I'm in the mood for just backgrounds or if I'm in the mood for just creating cards, I can go to either, but I really enjoy both processes. Now these are the TriBlend markers. I've shown these lots and lots of times. These are my go-to for alcohol marker coloring. They have the 3 colors in one barrel, so 3 pens in one barrel. That means I don't have to sit there and figure out which colors are going to go from dark to light. I don't have to think about color choices. They're all just sitting in the barrel for me. And I have this little butterfly here. This is the mini wing set. This one is the Tortoiseshell, but they have a few, maybe 3 or 4 of these little butterflies that are all different kind of designs, but all very mini. And because of that, they have a really, really low price point, which is fantastic. I'm stamping these out in some VersaFine Onyx black ink. I also have a little square of Lawn Fawn Vellum up there. It's important that you have a vellum that you can heat set for this, that you can apply heat to, because I am going to pop over some clear embossing powder over both the paper ones and the vellum one. Now I'm actually only going to use one of the paper ones, but I like to stamp out a couple of things because that way, if I have gorgeous little children beside me helping, they will be able to have one, or I can just pop it in a little spares pile and it will save me stamping out one another time. Then on the vellum, this heat sets really, really quickly, and it doesn't warp the vellum at all, which is most important. I will leave links to all the supplies that I'm using in the video, and they will be down in the description box below this video. But you can obviously decorate your backgrounds in any which way you want. You could use so many different techniques. I just thought I would go for a few different little focal points that were going to really make the backgrounds shine, because that is kind of part of the fun of this card. So here I have just chosen the citrus yellow, and I'm going to do kind of light, medium and dark. I am absolutely no alcohol marker expert, so I'm not really going to focus on this. I'm just zooming through it. But it just goes to show with not too much help, I can create something that looks okay. And I did add in a little bit of coral color there just at the inside of the wings, and it gives it a little bit more dimension. So I usually start off and I cover the whole thing in the light version, and then I go back through and I do the medium and then the dark, and then I blend it all out with the light. But to each his own. Obviously you could use absolutely anything to color these in. Your favorite medium is going to work really well, but the main reason that I chose to use alcohol markers today was because I knew that I wanted to color the back of the vellum as well, and I'm going to show you why in just a little minute. So here I have my couple of butterflies, and I'm going to add a little bit of the coral color down the middle to create the body of the butterfly as well, and then I'm going to fussy cut these out. I don't mind fussy cutting, but I'm fussy about my fussy cutting. I will very carefully select images that I want to cut out. For example, this butterfly has nice kind of straight lines. It's really easy. I'm going to cut off the antennae, and that means I can just stamp it later on, and I don't even have to worry about trying to go around all those fiddly little lines there. So I just cut those right off. And this butterfly is really, really easy to fussy cut. I have chosen to not leave a white border. I think that that kind of worked best for this card in particular. And then I'm also going to fussy cut out the vellum one. Now you can either color in first or fussy cut first, either. But I'm going to cut around this one, leave the antennae off as well. But when I layer this butterfly on top of my other one, now this just kind of gives a little bit more dimension to my project and to the butterfly rather than just sticking him down nice and flat, you can see that the vellum is going to dull out lots of that beautiful color. You can definitely still see it, but it does dull the colour quite a bit. So this is why I chose alcohol markers. I have turned the butterfly over so that the heat embossing is on the face down at the moment. Then I am using some of the coral colour in the middle. Now, with blending on the back of here, it's not going to be like blending on paper. It doesn't have to be as perfect because it definitely gets muted when you turn the vellum the right way around, but this looks really gorgeous. I really liked how this butterfly turned out anyway. It was kind of the perfect amount of colour that shone through, and kind of you could still see the bottom one, and you got to see the beautiful vellum on top as well. So I will leave that for a minute just to dry. And I'm going to quickly scoot through a couple of things that I do to create my second card. Now this is the Flower Picking Friends card from Simon Hurley. This is probably my favourite stamp set he has ever created. Those 3 big flowers are just stunning. Now all I did here was I stamped them out twice in VersaFine Onyx Black. I heat embossed them with clear embossing. I coloured, I used a little finger dauber there just to add in that little bit of pink inside of the lilies. And then I used some oxides with a water brush to colour in the stems. Then I used some of the worn lipstick pink, basically Distress Oxide, to put some splatters on there, and those are kind of those little speckles that appear on the lilies. Now I am going to go really fast through this, and I have already fussy cut out one of the lilies, and with the second one here I decided to just cut out some elements so that I could give my first lily a little bit of dimension. So I'm just cutting out a couple of the bottom leaves, which will kind of appear to be the front. Then I'm cutting out one of the actual leaves from the stem, and that will layer up as well to create a bit more dimension. Now here are the 2 cards I created. This purple one is the one where I only inked up kind of one layer of my brayer. I didn't turn the ink pad around and do a second layer to get the full brayer width. So for this one I'm going to cut this out. I want to make sure that I'm getting some of that really nice texture at the edges of the purple there. I don't want to kind of cut all of that out. So I used the largest circle from the Hero Arts Infinity die set. Any circle is going to be fine. In fact, you could cut this out by hand. You could just draw around a plate or a large bowl or something and get a nice circle here, and add a little bit of low-tack tape to it just so that the die stays in place. Run it through, and then I have my gorgeous little circle. It's kind of off the edge, which I really like the look of too. Take off that low-tack tape, which is great because I know it's not going to rip my project at all. And then this is where I'm going to stamp out a couple of the sentiments. These are from the Flower Picking Friends set. As I said, this one has great sentiments. It has those gorgeous big flowers, my favourite. It's all my kind of favourite things in a stamp set, and stamp out a couple of those with the same black ink, and then it's time to start putting all of these together. I did cut these out with my long bladed scissors. I really like this look at the moment, cutting sentiments out with kind of a nice fine little sentiment. And then I do have my little cutter bee scissors there to the side, and I tend to do the edges with those, just deciding whether I want like a little banner or just a nice kind of on the angle edge. Not sure, but I do use my little cutter bee scissors for that one. Now here is my first card base. This is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base, and I have the pink one cut down to 4 by 5 1/4. And this is how I kind of place my butterfly. I put my sentiment where I think I want it to go, and I use that transparency that the stamp came on, and that way I can kind of line up where I think I want my butterfly to be. Remember that we cut the antennae off, so I know I need to replace those. So I need to stamp down the butterfly first of all. I popped a little bit of foam tape on the back of my little sentiment just to give it a tiny bit of dimension. These cards are going to be mailed, so I am mindful here not to add kind of 2 layers thick of dimension. I'm stamping out the butterfly. You could probably just do his little antennae at the top, but it gives a nice white border, a nice black border, because even though I fussy cut them, this will kind of tidy up the edges for me. And the yellow little paper butterfly is going to go straight down. So this glue is the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish. I fill these glue bottles myself, and if you'd like to see a video on how I do that, it's very easy, stress-free and mess-free. Then I have, if you search on YouTube, how to fill a glue bottle, it will be the first one that pops up. I will also try to remember to leave a link down below as well for that. And then I made sure that the body was flat on and then curved the wings up. Pop that on some glue too, and this is gorgeous. I love this butterfly. Now the best thing is that he is able to go completely flat through the mail, and his little wings will pop up when the recipient gets the card as well. So here is the second one. I have my little purple circle and my lilies. I have the Just For You, the kind of larger sentiment that I want to pop down the bottom. So I'm making sure that I have everything in place. This one is going down flat, so I know that I can pop this down first and then stamp. I am putting it exactly where it kind of came from on the page that I die cut it from, so it's hanging off the edge nicely. Then that leaves me lots of room to stamp my little sentiment down the bottom. I did just want to quickly jump in and say that I know I really appreciate a short video. I like my videos to be much shorter, but I am kind of packing in more cards into every video that I create, so they are inevitably getting a little bit longer. Let me know if you like that, seeing multiple cards, and I definitely would not go over the 20-minute mark, but let me know if you like that, or if you prefer to see just one singular card in each video, and that way I can keep them shorter, around that 10-minute mark, but I guess mostly I'm aiming for that kind of 10 to 14 minutes and no longer. But this one is a little bit longer, so I apologize. Let me know in the comment section down below what you prefer to see. And these cards are just so stunning. I just felt like I needed to show both of these because it's kind of two different ways to present these backgrounds, the bouncing Brayer backgrounds that we created. So here I'm adding in that extra little dimension. The leaf I decided to go not directly on top and just off to the side a little bit. It looks like more leaves, and then here for the petals I'm going to pop those up, and it just gives it that little bit of dimension. Cut off the little bit of the stem that was poking off the end, and I love these two cards. I'm not sure what it is about them, but I really love how these turned out. I'm using a little bit of glitter pen. This is from scrapbook.com, and it just adds a nice, very subtle layer of clear glitter. Then I'm going to quickly add a couple of little drops of glossy accents just onto that little inside of the flower there, and then these cards are pretty much done. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are inspired by this video and you would like to show me your versions of this, then our Facebook page is a great place to do that. So come and join us at Come Crafting with Natasha on Facebook. I'll leave a link below too. Other than that, I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.